We have Marie Deni, who's a siblings guru, and she used to take my son to siblings for about, more than 6 years, a long time, probably about 9 years.
I think about 9.
And she also used to take Lucy. Lucy's a sibling, and she's going to hopefully facilitate our siblings group when we get it on. And I thought we could have her along and she can share some of her experience of growing up being a sibling. So we're just it's going to be a very relaxed, informal chat. So interrupt with questions, discussion, ask away, and yeah. So welcome. And before we start, just pay my respects to the traditional landowners and the elders past, present, and emerging. So over to you, Marie. Thank you.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'll just give you a little bit of information about the SIB program that we ran and what we found that was really beneficial for the SIBs. And then please feel free to ask any questions as I'm sort of going along. So we actually ran a group originally which was for 6 weeks, which was part of the SIB shop group. And we had a range of children at that 6-week program. And while we were working, we found that we really needed to divide the children up because children were developmentally very different. And so the children under 8 needed to be worked with really differently to the children that are over 8. So the reason being that kids under 8, well, it's sort of more concrete thinkers. So to them, having a sibling with a disability is like what everybody had. Like, you know, there wasn't such an awareness that it was really different, and they sort of just make do with what they've got basically, you know. So, and then the other kids sort of seemed to have more of a knowledge that, you know, there was differences occurring and needed to be worked with really, really differently. So just to let me know, how old are your siblings? So siblings being the child who doesn't have the disability, are they over 8, under 8? Under.
Over. She's 9.
Okay. All right. So most of them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such sense.
Yeah. So they were seeing things very differently, and so with the younger children, what we were doing a lot of is working on just acknowledging their feelings. Okay, and for young children to acknowledge feelings, they need to know what the feelings are. So we did a lot of work on getting to know what a particular feeling was, how that feeling felt, how we worked with that feeling when we felt it, because we need to model strategies for the children ourselves. So it was like, you know, there's no point in saying to a 7-year-old, oh, you must be really frustrated, and they're sitting there going, what does frustrated mean? So what we were doing...
Yes, yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So that would be something that I would be working on, just sort of getting to understand what each different emotion was, and then being very expressive when you're having that emotion as well. So like saying, I'm feeling sad, and when I feel sad, I like to just sit out. Books are really good as well, that we use lots of books, and there are lots of storybooks as well from libraries and things like that you can borrow. And then when you see, even in your regular book, if you see an emotion, then you can talking about that. So we did a lot of that stuff. And the biggest indicator, the biggest influence on children when they're having an emotion is you. So what you're modelling when you're having a particular emotion is quite often what they do as well. So, you know, if you parents will say, oh, they scream a lot, and then you hear the parents yelling too, and it's like, well, they're seeing that, so they do model that.
Like when we yelled, don't yell at me.
Yeah. Yeah, or you slam a door and then the next moment the child slams the door. Okay, I see where that comes from. So what a lot of the research does talk about is just that acknowledging the feelings and making, at all ages, making the child know that it's okay to feel like that. The biggest one that we get is embarrassment. Sometimes the children will say they feel embarrassed about a sibling might be having a meltdown at the supermarket, and everyone's looking. And so what we found was getting parents to talk about how they feel embarrassed too, and it's okay to say that to a sib. When Johnny yells in a supermarket, I feel embarrassed too, and what I normally do is, and then give your strategies so that they understand that it's okay to feel embarrassed. And the other emotions that we often find are anger, angry that their sibling has broken something, or guilt sometimes, guilty that they can do other things that the siblings can't. So just having that line of communication open is really important. Do you want us to talk about any of that?
No, I mean, I remember at the SIBS groups, we used to talk about emotions a lot. Now I understand why. Obviously, I was 7 or something, so I did not know, but wow, yeah. No, it really worked, it really did. Yeah. It helped with coping, definitely.
Lucy, did you find it was easier to cope the older you got? Or just different?
Definitely different. I don't know if it was easier. I just, through the group and talking to other people who were going through similar things, kind of made it, I guess, easier to get through situations like embarrassment at a store, or angry. When you're younger, you get angry. You don't really think about how they, I don't know how to explain that. I guess for me it was different because James was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So maybe for someone who had autism and would break a sibling's thing, I guess, understanding that they didn't mean it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As you get older, you just kind of understand those things. But going through the emotions in that group really helped, yeah.
The other thing that we found worked, and a lot of the literature talks about it, is not excusing the SIB's behaviour. Sometimes we'll say, oh, they just don't understand. It doesn't help a SIB who's angry to hear that right then. So what would be a better way of saying it is, it must be really frustrating when Johnny breaks your thing, your toy. So acknowledging their feeling and then saying, what could we do that could be different? So sometimes just helping them put things away, what could we do? Could we maybe put some special toys away so that they can't touch them, or can you have a special time to play with those? But just making sure that the SIB is aware that they have a sibling with an additional need, but still acknowledging their feelings. Does that sort of make sense? Because quite often you'll just go, oh, but they don't get it, or and it doesn't help the sibling who knows they don't get it, but I'm still
really
feeling.
Struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't get any younger.
Yeah.
My son's 16, he gets frustrated. She trashes place and breaks stuff. It's just so annoying.
But for us, it's more about attention, him getting extra attention that she feels, and actually excusing his behaviours. Why did I get sent to my room for whatever, when she was naughty, but he doesn't?
Yeah.
Because I can't do that because it would get worse.
Yeah.
He would actually get violent, and so that's not an option we have for him.
Yeah, so a lot of SIBs do talk about the inequities, and I think as they get a bit older, they understand it. Why do I have all these chores to do and my sibling doesn't? And as I said, we try and reason with them, but you've got to remember that they're still a little kid. The other thing is there's quite a few researchers on just basically you've got to think that under all of this stuff, there's still sibling rivalry that would happen within any family. So we're not, it doesn't always need to be that there's sibling rivalry just because of the additional need. So there's been a bit of research done of children with additional needs and their sibling playing, and quite often the interaction is quite similar. So there's still the love, the hate, and all, the playing together, the fighting over something that happened was pretty much equal. What they did find is that older sisters sometimes were a little bit more caring and compassionate as they sort of got older, sort of took on more of a caring role. But just keeping that in mind as well, that there is still going to be that typical developmental stuff, like children under 2 are not going to really be playing together. It doesn't really matter if it's because the child has a disability or not. Developmentally, they're at that stage.
I do tell Dominic this, but he doesn't believe me. I need to hear from you, Marie. One of the things we do is Hugh has a meltdown. Hugh, you need to take a break, and that's actually to help Hugh because he just needs to go and chill. But it's actually also for people who's 5 to see that behaviour is not okay. So it's kind of same words, different messages, which is it kind of works. So yeah, Pippa sees, that's not okay, and there's consequences.
Yeah, and it also teaches her strategies she can use when Hugh and her are together, and he might be feeling like that she can sort of use the same things that you've modelled before.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing that the research talks a little bit about is when siblings do have little arguments, it prepares everyone for the real world, because that's what our sibling relationships really do. They prepare us for the real social world. So if your child with additional needs is out there and, thinks that the world is all going to sort of move around them, and they're used to having, I'm not saying that you let them get into full-on fist fights, but they'll be used to some of that stuff as well, and seeing that not everyone agrees with you and preparing them for the social world. Okay. Lots of our SIBs do feel anxious, so have any of your children had any of that? So anxiety comes in lots of different ways. So, you either get the child who strives to be perfect, or the child who is more withdrawn. And so just talking to that child and giving them someone that they can talk to, which has been found to be really interesting in that sometimes SIBs don't want to talk to their parents about how they feel, because they feel that they've got enough of a burden at the moment. But providing them with someone, either another adult, a sporting person, who can help out with just getting some of that, the lines of communication open has really been really beneficial. Okay. Has anyone got any questions?
No, I'm already bloody teary. No, that's all right. There's lots of napkins. Anyway.
In saying this, most of the stuff does say that siblings of children with disabilities have a great time. It's not all bleak.
Anyway, that's fine.
But yeah, so basically it's just talking about how they feel. What we did, and also the information you give the children needs to be developmentally appropriate. Okay, so they found that we just need to give them information that they need that is concrete to them. So some of the little SIBs, we would talk about disabilities, and one of them thought that her sister had dancing syndrome, which was Down syndrome, and her mum had opened a place called Emotions 21, which is a dance group. So that little girl thought her sister had dancing syndrome. Another one of your little friends, we asked what was a disability, and we'd often only talk about what families would. They'd give us the information that they would use for their children, so the terminology. Not a lot of parents of the under 8s would use the name of the disability. And I asked the group once what's a disability, and one of the children said, it's the thing that gives you a sticker, and when you're really late at the ballet, so that to her was what a disability was. So you just when you're giving some information, make sure that it's to where the child is at. But we had lots of fun with the kids. We did lots of games, and we did some games that helped to make them understand what it would be like to be the sibling. So games like charades, when you have to try and give information without using words. Another game was doing puzzles with socks on your hands, and just to let them see how it might feel and how frustrating it could be to be able to, to have to do something with, without one of the skills that we normally have. So, but we basically focused on the little kids. Was lots and lots of stuff about their emotion, their self-esteem, just making them have fun, giving them a place where they were the special person. So we did MasterChef and I think Australian Idol type of thing that they sang, and lots of fun. And then we found with the older kids, they needed more, so over 8, they needed lots more information. They needed to feel a connectedness and part of a group, and as they got older, they were all, I don't know what it was back then, Facebooking each other or something.
Facebooking.
Not Facebooking, what's the other one that you had, Snapchatting or whatever it was back then.
You have a Facebook siblings group, don't you, Lucy?
We did.
We did. I don't know if anyone uses it anymore, but we did have one. Yeah.
So you're about growing Facebook, you're on to the next thing, is that right?
No, I'm still on Facebook. It's just the group's active.
Yeah, we don't put anything on. And the reason we had to stop the group was from funding, not through lack of interest and some of the kids got a bit old, or about 15, and then they decided we're a bit too cool.
I think the main need is primary school age kids. That's where they need the most support.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. The primary age kids that when they're just starting to understand that not everyone has a sibling with additional needs in their family and the need to feel connected to people. So, do you want to talk about connection?
Yeah, so with the group when I first started, I think to start with, there was a lot with getting to know people, and that excitement of going back because, you can relate to that person in ways you can't relate to other kids in primary school or that you do sport with. So you go to this group, there's, I had this one friend that I'm still friends with now, still close, and, it was I get to go back and see her, and I can tell her about this funny thing that happened with my brother that other people won't understand. So it was lots to do with that, and yeah, you make lifelong friends really. It was really great.
I remember once there was a child and I don't know if you remember this, her sibling was having some back surgery and she came in and she was quite anxious and didn't understand the process of what was going to happen, and Lucy, James had just had some and she's like, you know what, it's really not that bad. And she took she did the job for me. I'm just sitting there, and it was so much more beneficial for the other child to hear it from another child's perspective rather than from me saying, look, it'll be okay. But you had so much knowledge, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Why do you think we're getting her to run out?
Yeah. And it was perfect because you knew exactly how she was feeling. You knew, what was going to happen when he came back home from hospital, and we were lucky and we were blessed that you were able to do that. And so was she, because she found by the end of it much better about the operation that was about to happen.
You mentioned there was funding for you to continue that support. And you mentioned primary school age is really important. What is there now?
So back then there were lots. There were lots of groups, and it just seems to be there's hardly any. There's Siblings Australia have a Facebook page, I think, that you can, and they Kate Strain, who actually wrote this book, has workshops every now and then. And I think VSK have one, very special.
I know one.
Yeah.
What's it called? Little Dreamers?
Oh, is that Madeleine's, Madeleine set that up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter just went to 2 days holiday program.
Yeah.
And the first one, it cost $10.
Oh, wow.
And the first one was in South Melbourne at the community centre, and they made slime, and they had a magician come, and what else did they do? Cupcake decorations, just ran around. They got to eat chips.
For $10.
Yeah. And then the second one was at Science Works, which my daughter's very social, so I think she didn't enjoy that one as much, but that was $10 as well. But you got to have Subway. And then they have this thing which is a dream experience, and it's like Make-A-Wish but for the sibling. So we didn't really know what she didn't know, because she didn't really have the concept of what she could possibly do. But you could do things like have a party at Luna Park with friends. I think lots of stuff at the zoo. So she chose feeding the giraffes in the zoo. So we haven't done it yet, but it was really, really weird because they came back and they said, oh yeah, she can feed the giraffes, but do you want to make a night of it and you can have some accommodation? And I was like, okay. And then I thought it would just be some sort of apartment somewhere, but we're going to the Crown Plaza.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And then they said, oh, so feeding the giraffes at the Melbourne Zoo is a 15-minute thing, but if you can get to Werribee, then you can go for an hour and a half.
Wow.
So I was like, it's going to be like so hard to get anywhere. And then these people were like giving us stuff.
Especially for the sibling as well.
Yeah.
Pretty
Is
amazing.
it just the siblings or for both?
No, it's just I think it's just for siblings. They also do mentoring programs for the over 14-year-old kids. And I'm not really sure what else they do for the younger kids apart from the holiday programs yet.
Okay.
I think they have parties and yeah.
What is it, Little Dreamers?
Little Dreamers.
She won. She's won a lot. Well, she's been successful at grants, but she also won some awards. Like, she's pretty inspirational. So she's a carer, like a young carer.
Yep.
And so she's established Little Dreamers. She was a disability source expert.
Yeah,
I spoke to her there.
I had heard about it from a friend.
Yeah.
And I went and met them and they said, no, come. And it wasn't like hard to get into it. There was still, like, you had to buy your tickets on one of the website, but there was still lots left even when we booked in.
I don't think they run anything like on a weekly or fortnightly basis. I think they do ad hoc, like school holidays. But I'll connect with her again.
Come on.
So exciting.
Hopefully be back to school.
So, I mean, it was really good to actually have her in the holiday program so that, because, you know, it can be so hard to take your special needs kid out all the time.
Yeah.
So at least she got to do something rather than just stay at home all holidays. And ours was like, ended up being a 3-week holiday, so curriculum days in, and it was just like...
A lot of parents.
And for older kids getting into young carers, so I think it's a phone call. You just ring young carers, and if you can prove that your child is doing a caring role that is more than what somebody else who doesn't have a sibling with additional needs, it's sort of just been a bit of acknowledgement, but there's also every now and then I do like help pay for the siblings to like do a sporting event. So like some of our kids used it for their soccer term fees, but it's only every now and then that this comes out. But if you ring up and sign up for it, then you're able to access all of the fundraising and all that stuff that comes.
So siblings are classified as young carers.
I think
maybe not our
not 5-year-olds. No, as they're a bit older, I think it's about 12.
I don't know if Little Dreamers has an age limit.
But if you can link into anything,
But I
then
just said this because he was diagnosed with ASD. I just sent the report
Yeah.
and said, Bridget misses out on all sorts of things because we can't do normal stuff. And they were like, fine, you're in.
I think there's a link to it on our website anyway, if you go into our wiki. And I'll certainly, Marie's got a lot of resources, so I'm actually going to put a siblings menu up on our website tab, and I'll put a lot of that. I'll put a link to Madeleine's site and information about what to get our siblings set up and running.
Yeah, so unfortunately with the NDIS sibling things have
Isn't that how I see grants? We shortly first.
I think Kate Storm, did she pick something about it? She's been trying to lobby the NDIS for siblings to be recognised and supported.
And the new carer gateway stuff, you know, if any runs siblings, sorry.
No, I don't think so. The trouble is the funding. So we put in for a couple of grants.
Yeah.
Get them, but we're still going to start it up because I think there's such a need. And people in our community are telling us there's a need.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, that's one we try and support the whole family. It's not just about the kids.
Yeah.
It's probably the people we support, probably not siblings by their child. So,
So what we did with the older kids was just, as I said, lots of cooking. The kids loved cooking. We also had some children whose siblings had Prader-Willi, so they had limited food at home that was able to be accessible. So the kids would just cook amazing meals. We'd make a menu the time, like the previous session, and then I'd just buy the food and we'd make all sorts of things, and just sort of sitting around like adults, because I think they like that. And just cooking all sorts of food. And it was fun.
It
We
was
got
so
to
fun.
eat and they all made, it was
like a family dinner. It was great.
I call you didn't say, though you did craft as well.
We did craft. We ended up getting Art Cabriolet came and helped out. We made a book with all artwork, and there was an exhibition. And we also had this amazing OT who was a musician, and the kids wrote a song. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And we got
I
it.
still have it.
Wrote a song, and they had it recorded, and it was really, really great. And they wrote, everyone put in their lyrics, and we all put it together, and they sang it. So it was really important just for them to have a connectedness, to get to be able to speak to somebody else that was going through the same thing, and also to have adults. So the rules were they could tell us anything, and we wouldn't tell their parents unless we were concerned about it. So just an example was once we were doing a game, and it was all the kids, so we had all emotions around the room, because as I said, we talked a lot about emotions, and they had to run from one emotion to the other. So I'd say it's your birthday, and they'd all run to happy and or surprised or whatever it was. And then I had one, and I said, you've got time with your mum and dad, and everyone ran to happy, and one boy ran to guilty. I was like, okay, right. And I said, that's a really interesting choice. Why did you make that choice? And he said, because usually I've done something wrong to get attention. And then I said to him, that makes me a little bit sad. Is it okay if I can talk to your mum about it, so that mum has an understanding that that's how you're feeling? And then I was able to do that, but with his permission. So it was nice. And then there was lots of other things and funny things, and they did lots of. It was a game where they would run, and there was big undies, like the biggest undies, and they had to run, put the undies on, and then go to the next person and take the undies off and give it back to that person. There was a lot of craziness. But most of all, the kids were saying that they loved having a sibling with a disability. Most of them were like very caring, compassionate, and well, just putting it to you, how did you feel?
How did I feel?
Yeah.
I mean, I did feel proud. Like it was different. It made me me. It was, like, I don't You get to meet new people and you get to learn things that other people don't get to learn. You see the world in a whole different way, honestly. Like, it was really, it's great. You grow to love it, like, actually love it, yeah.
And just another thing I was going to say is that what research has found and what we found, as in just in a group, is that the way that you deal with the disability, that the parent deals with the disability, has a greater impact on the sibling than the disability itself. So if you're showing that you're resourceful and that you're getting respite and you're looking after yourself, that's showing them strategies for resilience. So it's really important that in helping your SIBs, you're also helping yourselves. So, if you can have someone to talk to or be a member of this group, it's really important as well. Any questions?
I think I've probably over-dramatised to my daughter, who's turning 7 on Saturday, about, like children with disability, and I've really alerted her to children that are in wheelchairs and stuff like that, preparing her brother is 4. Mm-hmm. So I'm preparing her for her son, her brother being in a wheelchair, but he might not be, we're not sure. But she's now thinking, and she's obsessed with Dylan Alcott, and anyone in a wheelchair, she thinks they're so cool. And so when my husband said, don't go diving in the shallow end, you might break your neck and you'll end up in a wheelchair, well, she's like, well, I don't know what to do now because I think wheelchairs are cool. It's like, no. You need to stay healthy. You're a healthy child, Anyway, so I think she's just obsessed. But now I'm aware, like you're saying that, children under 8, they're, it's not really a big deal that their brother or sister is disabled or can't do what other children can do. But I'm aware that over 8, she might, not resent it, but might really realise that he is different. And but yeah, that's my that's my little story there. But anyway, but yeah, she's so compassionate. She's over the top with, making sure she doesn't hurt people around her. And I just think that comes from having a sibling with a difference and just over caring for him. And when you were saying about, like the sibling rivalry and stuff like that, or, fights or arguments, like she literally gets her hair into his face, so he will grab her hair, so then she can say, oh, he's pulling my hair. She wants that, like, even though she doesn't know any better, she just wants him, she wants to play fight with him, and he doesn't care, like, he's just chilled out, but anyway, so it's funny how that's just in their mentality that siblings should be fighting or bickering or, hanging out together.
I think it brings a really special quality out.
It does.
My son, probably not to his sister, not to me, but to others. He's very caring. Yeah. So, if someone was upset in his class in primary school, he'd always be the one who would go up to them, or the teacher say, oh, can you come and sit down? And he would do it.
Yeah, I find like my daughter seeks, she can see the person in the room that hasn't got a friend, or, in kinder, she was in a class with a boy who literally comes from China, didn't speak a word of English, and she was the one that reached out to him and played with him, and his first English word was Liliana, like, which is her name. I'm like, oh, that's the first thing he knew how to read or something. Like, so I thought she was actually bullying him, so I've gone, what are you doing to him? And then I spoke to the kindy teacher, and she's like, oh no, she's just taken him under her wing, and I've gone, oh gosh, here I am thinking she's bullying the new boy, but it's been like this, so, yeah, and sorry, I cried before because you said, about, like, my daughter has literally said to me that how she was feeling, and then she stopped and she said, but you've got enough to think about with Luca. Like, she's very good with communication, and she just said out loud, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how I feel because you've got Luca to deal with right now. It's like, yeah. So
we're going through the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, but I'm here, I'm just, anyway.
Yeah. My daughter feels an overwhelming responsibility for her brother as well. I don't know if she's modelling me, but like if he's in a meltdown, she'll try and calm him down or whatever. And she said to me, she was only 7, and she said, we weren't even talking about anything, but she said, oh, well, when I grow up, I'll be the one to look after Benny. And then when he started school, she said, oh, because he's in an SDS, but his base room is in her school. So she said, oh, so at lunchtime and recess, I'll have to go and find him and make sure he doesn't run away and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, no, you play with your friends, you don't have to. But like for a 7-year-old to be thinking this is just like, just be a kid.
Yeah, that's a common theme that comes out a lot. And what the best thing to do is to have really defined roles for the child and sort of say, look, you know, there are some things that might be your responsibility, and that might be, you know, helping mummy with getting something organised, but not the other things are for adults to do. And also what I was saying about before, modelling that you're being resourceful and getting other people to help out, so that she doesn't feel that she needs to do it. But it's a very common.
I ended up having to take her to meet his teachers because she was just so anxious that he was going to be okay. But once she met them, she was okay with that.
Do you find much difference between having a male or a female as a sibling? Is there a difference?
I think it's just about personality. You've got some little boys that are really caring and some little girls that are, you know, happy to just sort of do their own thing, and then you've got the same vice versa. So we haven't found any big difference. The only thing is that as I was saying before, the research found that if there was an older sister, she quite often would be more of a carer, just assume that role. And when I talked about information before, you know, giving information, maybe now that your daughter is talking a little bit about when he gets older, what's going to happen, you can talk about there'll be things in place that, you know, she doesn't have to assume that role. Because it is something that even the little ones we've had, you know, I've had a 5-year-old who said that to me once when my mum and dad died, I'm looking after my sister, and I was like, I mean, you've got ages to go, you know. But it's like, no, you know, there are lots of places that can help, and mum and dad have got lots of people that they're working with towards that, and even speaking with therapists. So, you know, sometimes like an OT or those people, so that the sibling is feeling like they're understanding what's happening within.
I think there's particularly we're having at the moment, it's really that anxiety side, but it sort of, I think, manifests a little bit differently in that if Daniel can see a meltdown coming on, and I'm sure he absolutely gets this from me, he just goes into like control mode, and then the minute he can see that he's not able to necessarily prevent something happening, he gets really upset. So then we'll find we're having Greg's having a meltdown, and Daniel's having a meltdown because Greg's having a meltdown.
And you're having a meltdown.
I'm having a meltdown. Like something as simple as yesterday, Greg wanted to put something on telly and I couldn't get it to work. And so Daniel knew that was going to be, he's very in tune to the triggers, I think. And so he's sort of trying to, you know, manage it as soon as he can see that it's all over for both of them. So, yeah, struggling with what to do.
Good thing it was Monday today.
Yeah, exactly.
So talking about how you're feeling and giving him strategies that you would use. So, like, it's probably not a great idea to talk about it in the middle of the meltdown. And it's just like, you know, if you're having an argument with your partner and I sort of come in and say, now this is the time that you don't do it there. Just, you know, later, you know, have it like a discussion about, you know, I noticed that this, you know, that you weren't feeling great about that. You know, this is what I do. What could we have done different?
Yeah.
And then giving him some strategies, because you want to be getting his toolbox of strategies filled so that he's able to use
We often say, oh, maybe have some quiet time, go to your room, that sort of thing, but it's always in the midst of it when it's all unravelling. So, lots of chat about it. Yeah.
And there's also a really, I think it's a thing about anxiety on Go Zen, and it's a little cartoon for kids, and it's really cute. So it says about how we're supposed to worry. So it basically has like a little caveman, and it said there were 2 cavemen, and one would worry and he'd, go out of his cave and have a look around and make sure there was no danger, and he'd keep going in and out, and he'd finally go out when it was safe. And there was another man, and he would just go. And unfortunately, we're a descendant of the first caveman because the other one didn't make it. So we all need to worry, and it's okay to worry. The problem is when worrying makes other parts of our life be really difficult. So just giving them the message that it is okay to worry. We work out strategies when we're worrying.
It's lovely that he cares and that he and all of that. And I think he does take on how Ruth's feeling to quite a big extent, and empathy's a lovely thing, but not to the point that it's causing the upsettings. Yeah.
I remember you. It was the worry tree.
Oh, that book.
Yeah. So you recommend the worry tree, and we printed out this worry tree poster, and my son would post his worries on the worry tree. That was a really good strategy.
So that's just a fiction book about a little girl who they pull off the wallpaper, and there's a tree painted underneath the wallpaper from the grandma, and it had different animals that were for different types of worries, and you could write letters to those animals. It's actually a really good book, but probably for your daughter's age, a little bit older. So I think probably 10.
I think he was younger when you did it, but I might be wrong.
Or if you can read it to them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no,
talk
we'll
about
read
it
it
and write it down.
And we did things like the Guatemalan worry dolls. Have you seen those? Little dolls that you tell them your worries and you put them under your pillow, and then you don't have to worry about it. They'll fix it. And there's a cute book by Anthony Brown called Silly Billy, and he has lots of worries, and he makes worry dolls, and he's like such an anxious personality, but then he makes worry dolls for the worry dolls. But it's really cute. And then we made worry dolls with the children out of, the ties from your freezer bags. So just made those and then just put a little bit of decoration on it. And they were able to give their worries to those little people, and then they dealt with their worries.
Do you remember doing stuff like that?
Yes. I remember all of this.
Make dream catches.
Yeah, the dream catches was before I realised that kids can't tie. Like, they had to do lots of tying, and we had all these kids who couldn't tie their shoelaces, so they couldn't tie the knots, and it was like, oh geez, so they're tying them all for them. But basically, I think most of the stuff we got out of it was that the kids, even though they do have, some struggles, they're still having a really good time. And if they get some time with their parents, it's like super special if you can organise a little bit of time. I know that everyone's super busy, but even if it's just like, someone with your child while you do a reader with the other child, even if it's like 15 minutes a day of quality time, means a lot to the SIBs, because they sort of feel like, I matter too. Because, there are going to be times where you might have doctor's appointments and hospital appointments, and you need to be spending lots of time with one particular child, and if the other one just gets a little bit, it makes a huge.
Did you find when your kids first came to siblings group the first time, they were quite anxious, and then it took them a few sessions to feel at ease?
Yeah.
Did you...
And they couldn't understand why they were there.
Right.
So quite often we'd say, you're here because everyone's got a brother or sister with additional needs, and back then, basically, that's where they were developmentally, so they're like, so does everybody else. Like, it wasn't that they felt, it didn't feel like they really needed it, if that makes sense. Right. Whereas I think the older kids were feeling more like, we need our own space, we need something that's just ours. Yeah. But the younger kids, they took a while, and just trying to understand where everybody else was at. And then with us, because not all of them knew us. The ones that had come through early intervention, because that's where I work in the early intervention program, felt more familiar with us because they'd seen us for many years, but the little ones. But after a few sessions, they wanted to be there. And then we went from weekly to fortnightly to monthly. And the kids were really not happy that it was there was so much time apart. But that wasn't me, it was just funding.
such a shame that so many siblings groups have folded.
Yeah, so there were a lot. So I used to go to network meetings and there was probably 8 or 9 groups running.
Right.
And now, so there was Time Out in Brunswick, there was one in Ringwood. There was all different types of groups, that, like, you know, some that just did like holiday programs and some that did like what we did, weekly things. And it just seems like, I tried to look it up the other day and just could not find.
We're planning to do ours like one every 2 months, and then maybe we'll look at some more of this stuff as well. It just depends whether we get these grants or not. So again, it comes down to funding, but you know, we do realise there's a huge need. And I think even for SWAN families, when kids are undiagnosed, they don't tick a box or they're rare, you know, it's so much harder for them, like it is for parents. Quite isolating.
So there are lots and lots of kids' books I've got, I'll pass on, that you can read to your SIV if you want to have a chat with them about how things are. And then there is some books that have more of a subtle message, and some that are like more information, like this one here is books and information. That's just from our local library. So if you look up, our library has an online catalogue, which I'm sure all of them do, but I just did siblings with disabilities and that came up. And there was a few more, but all that.
And there's a few support groups, specific books as well, like SMA have a specific one, and I think Tumor Foundation have another one. But we can put a list of the books up on our website for our siblings too. Go back and write it up. So hopefully it can help you, and
And when this,
I was going to say, the other thing that I think is really needed, and I don't know if it used to be done or obviously it's funding as well, but helping other professionals, I think particularly kindergarten teachers understand the impact of having a sibling. I think that's something that's been a huge challenge for me, is kinder teachers, I don't know about school teachers, but just really not understanding the impact of home life on how they're going to behave at in kinder and school. And then saying, oh, socially, you know, a few problems here, and it's like, you've really got to understand where he's coming from.
Maybe we can look at doing some education.
I think that's a really important one. But I don't know if that's been done in the past.
so that's what, when we would do these network meetings, they would invite, you could invite teachers so that they could understand that, you know, sometimes, I know, it's horrible. But yes, just so teachers could understand that, you know, sometimes homework can't be done because there's other things that are happening in the house.
Did you find that, Lucy, that you teachers got it, or didn't get it?
I feel like maybe more in high school when it got a bit more serious, sometimes teachers wouldn't understand like homework. Sometimes, you know, you couldn't do it, or you couldn't do it to your best ability because, you know, maybe your sibling was in the hospital, or, you know, something like that. Or, you know, you had those times where, like, you know, I had to like take care of him while mum took my other brother out or something. Like, there's little things that happen at home that I feel like you don't feel like, I felt guilty at using him as an excuse, if that makes sense. So if I couldn't do homework and it was because my brother was in hospital, I didn't want to use that as an excuse because I felt guilty. So that was hard, definitely. And then when I did use it, I feel like sometimes they wouldn't believe me. They'd just be like, oh, she's just saying that. So, I don't know. Like,
I guess
it's hard,
harder at high school too, because you have so many more teachers.
Exactly, yeah. It's not just like the one or two teachers, it's for every different subject, So definitely that was hard. In primary school, I feel like it was okay, because usually, like, you know, my mum would talk to them about it, and like the teachers would get more involved, like with getting to know me. Whereas in high school, it was kind of like, do your homework, or that's about it, really. It was hard.
So I've just got some good good books.
Yeah.
So this one, the kids did the SWAN. We copied this. Sorry, Don. But it basically is, so the SWAN book is a list of questions, and then all the SIBs just wrote their answers in. But they were really just good conversation openers. So like, what did you tell your friends about your SIB's disability? And then, so this is the proper published one, but I took some of these and gave them to the kids.
I'm going to read a couple of them out, is it? Okay. So we'll put all these results.
So they're just like, describe your relationship with your SIB. How would you describe it? Close being my only SIB, we have become really close. We like to be with each other, in each other's company, and goof off. It is not like normal sibling relationships. That was someone who's 18. 13-year-old said, I think of more of them as a playmate than anything. It's that for me too, but I also enjoy their company more than anyone else's. They never judge me, and being with them, it's like staring into innocence. And other times it's like looking straight at mischief. Either way, it's never boring. It's a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
We're close, but he really doesn't know the meaning of love. 13-year-old.
Yeah, go.
They need to hear.
What do people know about your SIB? So this one says he's human too, he can hear, he has feelings, and he's like all other kids. She's the most amazing person in the world, and I wish everyone could meet her because I'm sure she would do so much for their spirits of anyone she meets. The 16-year-old. I'm just reading Annie, so sorry. That he is a great kid and his disability is not who he is. He's a person just like everyone else. He's a very happy kid and he loves to laugh. That's a 13-year-old.
There's a few movies that have come out about siblings as well. So
The Black Balloon.
Yeah, and
it's autism.
Yeah. And someone said there's a comedy or drama coming out on BBC in July with David Tennant about being a child with a disability and siblings and the impact. So,
Atypical was quite good with that as well.
which one?
Atypical. It's on Netflix.
Yes, that was really good. Yes, very good.
Boy has autism. He's teen. There's a lot of focus on the sister.
Okay.
And she's fabulous. But yeah, it's all about the family dynamic and the parents are having trouble.
Is it still on Netflix?
Yeah. It's got a couple of seasons. Really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Seasons.
And a good one for the young ones. Good one for the young ones is Inside Out, which isn't about disability, but it's about emotion. So we watch that with the kids. And just, being able to identify emotions and how they're feeling. And how that movie, they all talk the cup, because everyone's seen it. It's like a Disney type of thing, where the little girl has emotions and they all talk.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Make you cry.
I know, I can't even swallow.
So a lot of the books here are, this is an autism one. That's a really good one. And we'll put all these on.
There's a lot of books for kids around autism.
Yeah.
What about for books for kids?
Yeah, so that's why I got all of those other ones. So there's, when I looked up disability and it had autism, I thought, yeah, we've got lots of that, but we're looking into other ones. So these were other ones with characters that had additional needs that were doing okay. And as I said, some are have a more social theme going.
And there's books for older white people and parents to read.
Yeah, so they're these ones. This is the Sibling Survival Guide. It's a really good one.
Okay.
And it just sort of talks about how siblings feel. It goes all the way to aged care, so it's for the whole, not just like the younger siblings, and it talks a little bit about siblings at different ages and what they need.
There's one I read about, was it Travelling the Bus? Travel the Bus.
Oh, yeah.
America with this.
That's fantastic, that book. So
I don't remember what it's called though.
Taking the Bus with Mustards. It's something like that. Something. So basically, it's her sister has a disability and every day goes on the bus and spends her whole day just going on this bus. And she decides one day to go with her sister and realises all the people she's meeting and how social it is, and actually gets an insight into why her sister's doing it. This is a good book, but it's old, so it has some terminology we don't use in it anymore, but the information in it is really good. So that's brothers and sisters with special needs. And just be aware that sometimes when you're looking up siblings, some of them can have lots of, bleak stories, and it's not only, bleak stories. And that's what I'm trying to, to say is that, sibs do have positive experiences too. And I was talking to a lady the other day, and she said when her child was really young, she was quite anxious about how her child was feeling and coping. And then as the child got older and understood more, and she was able to, communicate more with the child, she realised, the child said it wasn't that bad. It was just how it was. And I love having a sibling like that. And it makes me who I am today. And I remember one of the things that we wrote in our SWAN book was, would you change your sibling's disability if you could? And all of the kids said no. Basically they were saying this is who they are. They didn't feel that, the group of kids we had didn't feel that they would want to change it.
Can I share a story? It was Jeans for Jeans Day, I think it was last year. And so it was at school, they all had to wear their jeans and whatever, and my daughter was asking me why are we wearing jeans in this? And I said, well, there's jeans that we wear, and then there's jeans which make up our bodies and whatever. And she was like, yeah, okay. And she said, well, where does the money go? And I said, well, they're going to do research, and they might be able to help people. They might be able to change their disability one day, like Benny. And she just looked at me horrified and said, why would we change him? I love him how he is.
Now I'm getting started.
Yeah. And that's what we think. A bit older.
Oh, is someone crying?
You okay? Oh, is there a question there?
I don't know.
Oh, hang on. Just put my glasses on. Ways they may not even understand why they are feeling and they're feeling. What do other mummies and daddies do in this instance? Can I answer that?
Yeah, so.
Ways they may not
I think you need to scroll up. I think it's part that. To do that.
hang
Sorry.
on. Sorry. Yeah, definitely need glasses. I can't even get it to work. Whoever posted that question, are you able to read it out to us, please? Hello? Hello? Carla, Preeti, Adele? Hello?
Heather, she's Catherine. Heather.
Hi, Catherine, how are you?
Hi, I think you posted that question. I'm so sorry, I didn't know if you could hear me or not. I'll be quiet.
I can hear you, but you come up as attending, so I didn't realise you were on. Someone posted a question, but I can only read the bottom of it, and I can't see it on the computer. It says, ways they may not even understand why they are feeling what they're feeling. What do other mummies and daddies do in this instance? Can someone, whoever posted that question, are you able to read us the start of the chat on it, please?
Yeah, sure. So I said, what is your biggest advice for under 8 and the younger ones who don't always understand what's going on with their siblings with special needs? Sometimes the 4-year-old's emotions are quite raw, and some ways they may not even understand what they're feeling, that they're feeling what they're feeling. What's the best way to handle?
Yeah, just so basically sort of working on, one, acknowledge their feelings, like it looks like you're feeling sad or how you're feeling, and talk about what you're seeing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
looks like you're feeling sad. What could I do for you right now to help them? And then do lots of like when you're reading books and when you're working, looking at feelings and explaining how when you have a particular feeling, how you would react to that. So like, it looks like you're a bit worried about your sibling crying, what could you do? We could give him a cuddle when he does that and it makes me sad. I take 3 deep breaths and then I go and give him a cuddle, or I wait till he calms down. Does that?
Yeah. No,
Being honest.
that's really helpful. Thank you.
We all have bad days, and that's fine.
Yeah. I think with the 4-year-old, I always find that it's harder for her to process what's going on around her, and often I don't think the reality of what's going on with her sister is quite settled as it would be with the older ones, perhaps.
Yeah.
So it's always harder to explain why mummy and daddy have to go to the hospital all the time, or why can't she do this and that, the other, like my friend can, or I think that's what I find harder to explain to her.
Yeah. So just explain sort of we need to go to the hospital because she's not feeling well. And then when she's sort of settled, then you can talk a little bit more about why she needs to go. But we were talking much earlier about like a 4-year-old has very concrete understanding of what's happening. So it's basically what they see is what they understand. They don't often link all the bits and pieces together.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yep. Thank you.
Do any of our virtual listeners have questions?
I've got another one. Is there any sibling programs that you're aware of out here in WA by any chance?
Not that I'm aware of, but we can look into it.
No.
Yeah. I'll make a phone call to someone and see if I can find out that information for you. Let you know.
That would be great. I'm loving all the stuff that you talked about in the workshops, and my gosh, it would be so great if my other daughter can do something like that. I mean, I think it would just enhance the whole experience for her and give her a better understanding and a deeper understanding and inclusion and all those things that come with it. I think it would be so great.
Okay, so we'll look into that, and Heather can.
I'll let you know. I'm messaging my contact there now, and I'll see if I can find something out.
Thanks. Thanks, Heather. Thank you. Thanks, Marie.
Well, can I just say, Marie, just what you're saying about how the young ones don't connect all the dots to see the bigger picture. That's so true. My son's 5, and I was trying to explain to the prep teacher in his class the other day I was explaining to my son about acoustic paneling that they had in the prep classroom, and I was saying to him, son's typically developing, and I was saying, Flossie would need more, his sister would need more acoustic paneling, wouldn't she? And he just looked at me like, and I said, well, you better explain to your teacher, do you want to explain to your teacher why she would need more acoustic paneling? And I was thinking he'd say, oh, because of her disability or because of the problem. And he just went, oh, she's not listening properly. I was like, yeah, like to his mind, he knows that ears don't work very well, but he's not saying, oh, she's deaf or she's got bilateral hearing loss or she's got a syndrome or she's whatever. He just says that she's not listening properly. And that just makes sense that that's how all he knows is what he sees at home, what he experiences at home. He's not embarrassed about her condition, like in the playground at school when we pick him up with her. He wants to do burnouts in her wheelchair while I hold her because it's like a toy. He's not yet at the age, whereas some of the other older kids in the playground will come up and ask polite questions and look at it cautiously because they know that it's different, but he doesn't see that it's different.
Yeah, there's one thing in this book here, and it's got 8 children under 8 who describe their siblings. Some of the siblings had additional needs and some of them didn't, and none of them actually. The siblings didn't talk about the additional needs. Like they might say, oh, he crawls or he walks or she doesn't speak. But it was basically this is what we see and this is what it is. There was no, and that's what I was trying to, and that's exactly what you're saying. They're not connecting all the bits together. They just see what they are. So that's why it's really important when you're giving the information to just give the information that they're going to need and understand.
That's what I've been wondering about Terry's moment. We just talk about things that are different and that, it's not better or worse, it's different. Processes sounds different, so I think Dad is understanding that, but he hears things differently and he knows a great and balance better than you. He's got really good amazing balance. And so for Daniel, that it's a bit different in that way, that he's got quite good balance, but it doesn't mean you can try that because so it's trying to show difference in a good and a bad way, I guess. Yeah. But I'm appreciating that down the track, that talk of difference will talk to turn into talk about disability, and I guess I'm unsure of around sort of what age that typically happens, and it sounds like it's probably around that sort of age 9, because at the moment we ask feel like we're nowhere near it, but, and then how you actually talk about that.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying sometimes books are really good. Yeah. Because then you've got something that you can read and then you can have a discussion with that's at their level. Yeah. And being part of a group where other kids can talk about the similarities.
That's what I love. You that really just share a shared experience in the way that we all benefit from. Just is so valuable.
I know when Dominic was younger, we used to borrow a lot of books from your siblings' library. And I did give them back.
No, they're not from you, not from you.
And they were really useful to read to Dominic and start a conversation. He was more interested if you could do it almost by a book rather than, because then it's not kind of like a lecture or anything like that. It was more conversation. And a lot of them were really good. Like I remember the laboratory I spoke about, printed up, and I think we worked on that for about 6 months, so it was great. Does anyone else have any comments? Any questions for Lucy or Marie?
So my son's just turned 7. So he's only grade 1, but his sister goes to a specialist school. She's quite, doesn't figure in his schoolyard, pick up stuff off school the bus. So at the end of last year, when all the Christmas carols, and then this Saturday he's got a birthday party. Both times he said to me, I don't really want Abby to come to that Christmas party or to that birthday party. So already that little I think she's obviously, I can't get much out of him. He's not. Obviously very young to understand, but obviously it's embarrassment.
Well, you'd see that a bit, wouldn't you? Embarrassment?
Yeah, embarrassment, yeah. And that's what, so, and also, like you can say, sometimes when we go out and people look, so what we often say to the kids is when other people are looking, it's usually that they're curious more than they're being judgmental. Because we don't see lots of people in a wheelchair or lots of people with a nasogastric or whatever it is that the child has. So yeah, just saying that, and I'd be truthful to your child. I'm not saying tell them that you're embarrassed if you're not, you know what I mean, or frustrated if you're not. But if you do have a strategy that you can give that to him as well, and maybe ask him why he doesn't want his sister to come, or get somebody else. If you feel that he won't be honest with you, if it's like...
I think one of the things you suggested is it's good if you can find someone outside the home to have that some special time with that child as well. Is that right?
Yeah, another adult who can be able to get some of the information and pass it on to you if need be. So a sports coach or a dance teacher or their classroom teacher. And some families have gone through like seeing counselling for their child as well.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it.
So there are some counsellors. I know that there's one who has children with disabilities who does a really good job. But yeah, if you recommend some.
The Department of Education have psychologists come in as well, so that was where I was going to do it through the welfare officer, and then she can refer them to the psychologist. But I have to give her a nudge. She's going to do it. Hasn't got back to me.
We've just started seeing somebody from the recovery centre because my typically developing attention seeking has been so profound that we're all moving to kill each other. And that's been only seen her once. That's been really cool.
And that could be part of anxiety, the attention-seeking behaviour.
It's extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to what you were saying before about the kinder teacher, because we had a great, lovely kids teacher, but she was new to the profession and didn't know it. She new to the centre as well, so she didn't know our backstory, whereas all the childcare educators hadn't seen us since daughter was born. And I remember partway through the term, she asked permission to get the preschool field officer because his behaviour was so challenging. And she's like, I can't understand. He's really smart kid and he's really nice and I can't. And I said to her, you know our backstory, don't you? And she said, oh yes, I know his sister's got disabilities. And I'm like, do you know how life is a complete freaking disaster every day? And that's what. And she couldn't understand it. She tried her best, but she just couldn't experience how hard it is, you know, she just saw his behaviour like at the Christmas concert when all the parents and the grandparents and all the kids had sung their Christmas song and they were sitting, the graduating class of kids, and one of them got up from the group and ran in front of the semicircle of parents and did a bomb dance. Luckily didn't pull his pants. The full bum, the Lord Mayor was there, the bum was out, and my husband was nearly having a stroke in the back row. But he wasn't being nasty. He just wanted his turn. It was good timing. It shows a good moment. So yeah, that's something really exciting.
Yeah, I had a teacher who wouldn't refuse to let my daughter be late for class without going to the office and getting a late pass. Because it made her really anxious to go to the office and get a late pass. And I said, look, this was before we discovered the wonders of melatonin. But I can't get him to school, so I can't get her to school either. Can she come into class and I'll let you know if she's going to be late? And he was like, no, just for the others, late pass.
Then one day in our shoes.
That stopped happening now, but it's sleep.
Is there another question? Oh, there, sorry, couldn't read it. And here it seems as if it's not seen as their job.
Oh, that's...
Adele, are you able to read your question out? I think again we've missed the tail end, or I know I can't get my microphone to work. I was just wondering if anyone can tell me what it is will count as
chaplain's
role, and should they be supporting siblings? We've come back from overseas where the school counsellor supports a lot. I think the problem in Australia is not every school has a school counsellor, and that's the biggest problem. And not all schools have welfare officers as well. You'd probably need to talk to like the principal whether there's any support out there, or whether the department can give you some support. Does that make sense? So you have to, yeah, I think you can't get your microphone to work. Is that right, Adele? Thanks. Yes, he's in a private school, so they have it all. I would be having the conversation with them and saying my child needs some extra support. and ask them if they can, offer some coping strategies for them. Something, to try and help with his anxiety. Does that make sense? I'm not sure how private schools in Queensland work.
In Victoria, the counsellors will do that at the private schools. They will help siblings.
Thanks, he's watched his brother seized for an hour and went to school and no one came to check on him. I think you need to let the school be aware of what's going on at home and just say, look, he'll need a little bit of extra support. Maybe they don't understand the background. Can you phone the school when, you have a bad morning and just let them know that he needs someone to check in on him, or message his teacher? Oh, that's tricky. Do you have, you know what, Adele, I'll give you a ring offline after this. I'll ring you this afternoon with some ideas for you.
Something I hadn't thought of, speaking to the school and asking for their support.
Yeah, I've done that at the start of my daughter started last year at prep.
Yeah.
And I told them straight up, this is, in case she's ever, missing from class or she comes in late or whatever. Her brother's getting sick and in and out of hospital or whatever. Thankfully he's been all right recently. And so I've done the same with her new teacher this year, just because, well, they only know what they know. And also she might throw in conversation that, oh yeah, my brother might die tomorrow, or, because we've always been pretty open. Well, he's not going anywhere, I can't see him going anywhere, but, yeah, so sometimes she might just throw that out.
Yeah. I think good communication is the key, and be transparent and tell them how it is.
Yeah.
Like you said, they only know what they know.
Yeah, and you can't think that the teacher from last year is going to tell the new teacher, so and every year is different in terms of Lucas' health and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
However, I guess we've had this general discussion that Daniel's brother had a disability and Daniel's on an IOP himself, so I sort of focused on his learning issues, but not so much really them understanding the impact of married life, and then maybe offering him some support in that regard. And just haven't gone down that road at all, and that's, I guess they don't really have a detailed understanding. A disability.
And usually the welfare coordinator knows how to deal with adapting a program for a child with additional needs, as opposed to supporting their emotional needs out of the home, because it usually just teachers who've got a bit more special needs background.
We had a big talk to his prep teacher and before we even in school, and they've been so good. So he worked hard with young kids and said he can't be there without me, and really massive because they've written an IRP for my teachers with the plan that he'll go in 10 minutes early and she gets him a job to do, like to put out the police and then that way he doesn't have that fear of lining up and watching it's whole
She's it's a simple thing that helps everyone.
Still start, so they can go into the classroom at 10 to 9, even though they don't have to be there till 9. It might even be quarter to 9, so they can go in and just settle down and whatever. So no one actually lines up anymore. They just
Did you ever feel stressed when you were late, Jane?
Yes. Oh, that was such a big thing. It happened so often. And it was like, my teachers personally were okay. Like, they weren't amazing, but a lot of the time they just didn't they didn't like pressure me to answer them. So they'd be like, they might come up to me later and be like, oh, is everything okay? And if I just said yes, and they just leave it at that. And if I was like, oh, like it was obvious that I was a bit upset, they would ask. And that was because my mum had every single year told them like what was going on at home.
Yeah.
So, I hated being late, and I did have to go to the office to get like a late pass, but my actual teacher was good about it always just made sure I was okay. So,
And when they asked you if you were okay, did that kind of make you more upset, or you were okay with that? Isn't it sometimes when you're upset, someone asks you everything okay?
And you're just like, no.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that definitely, it did sometimes make it a bit worse, but I mean, it's probably better than not asking.
Yeah.
It was good to know that someone cared.
Preeti's got a question. Preeti, do you want to ask your question or type your question, because I don't think we could hear you?
Yep. Hi. So I'm just wondering what other parents do, or if you've got any advice. With my 3-year-old who's dealing with her sister being sick and having to visit the hospital quite often, etc., and obviously because Zia's got additional needs, there's things that she can't do that her age siblings, her age children would do. So her sibling is often, she's only 4, so in her head she's often thinking, oh, when Zia grows up, mummy, we can play together. Or when she's only a baby right now, that's why she can't do things, and one day she'll grow up and she'll do this with me, or we'll go to school together. And these are amazing little dreams that she has, and I often just let her be and let her have those dreams and let her have those happy moments. But I wonder if I'm tackling it the right way, or is there a better way to do this, or am I doing it correctly? And I often question myself, because I don't know if her sibling with additional needs is going to be able to do any of those things, in the future. So, yeah, what do you do, and what do you suggest?
Hi, it's Nadia here. What I've done, so my daughter's almost 7, and her father is 4, and so he had issues when I guess from probably 3 weeks old. But then my daughter's always wanted, we're going to run around and we're going to play Tiggy and these dreams.
Yeah.
It's good to have dreams.
Yeah.
I have always been honest with her from the start to say, well, we hope that this will happen, but it might not. Or you might be able to play Tiggy in a different way. We might be able to, if he's in a wheelchair, then, you can chase each other around, we can help you. But I've never said, yes, you'll be playing Tiggy. We've always said we hope, and we've always said, we've always been
We wish, or we hope. Yeah,
without shattering her dreams, because I'm very, myself and my husband are very big on communication and explaining things in a way that she understands. And also it's hard as a parent, you don't want to break your child's heart and go, well, that's not going to happen, and you want to have hope. So I guess you just kind of need to be all on the same page, without not having hope, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is laced in with the fact that with my daughter, unfortunately, she's been diagnosed with a very rare condition that the doctors don't feel, that it's a life, her life expectancy is reduced, and so that emotion brings it all into the mix. And there's so many things that you deal with in your head, on a daily basis. And then when the sibling is saying all these things, it puts me in a really difficult spot where, like you said, you don't want to shatter their dreams. You want to be real, and you want to be sensible and realistic, as well as putting a spin on it so you're not shattering their dreams. And it is really, really difficult, isn't it? It is really difficult.
Yeah. Was it your daughter that has a mitochondrial disease or not? Or am I?
Yes, correct.
Because I'm a part of the Australian Mitochondrial Foundation as well. So with my son, he's 4, as I said, and we were told when he was about 10 months that he's got a suspected mitochondrial disease, and that we might lose him before he's 2 years old. And so now he's 4 years old. But I was preparing my daughter 2 years ago that she might not have a brother in a few years' time, that she might lose her sibling. And so that's always been, again, it's that whole honesty thing that your brother might die any day soon. It sounds very harsh, but, but it's in the back of her head. And, when he's crying or kicking at night, she might say, well, when's he going to die? It's like, oh, Jesus. But, so But so I've been, I mourned my son in the first year of his life that he was there. I think slowly we've gotten on with it, and slowly we're just adjusting to whatever the new norm is. I've just been completely honest with her the whole time, but trying to do it age appropriate and whatever her little brain can understand.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Trying to find that sort of balance, I suppose, is the key, I suppose. Yeah.
Also keeping line with your so over time, personally, we were all in a bit of denial that my son had a disability, even though he wasn't walking when he was 4. But once that hope and dream came alive that he did walk, we then said, actually, it's still not okay. And I think she sort of went as a family along on the same journey as well. So now that my daughter's 9 and she's, I think, much more prepared to know that he's not necessarily ever going to reach the same capacity as other people in his peer group or whatever. So they do follow you as well, I think.
I think Adele had a question.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
So I think it's working now. So I guess what I'm trying to work out is whether my expectations of the schools here are too high, and what we've been used to is if he was that morning, he watched his brother seize for an hour, he was on the phone to the ambulance, watched him go into resus and called the school, let everyone know. And I was just a bit shocked that they didn't send a counsellor, and I'm wondering whether it's my expectations are too high of the schools. Or should that be expected?
I think you need to have a conversation with the school. I'll give you a call after this afternoon and chat to you a little bit more.
That'd be great.
Because, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah. I was trying to work out, we've been spoilt for years with them looking after him, so.
Now, someone's written a message saying they've got to go to school pickup now. Is that you, Adele, or is that Bridgie?
No, that's Carla.
Oh, Carla. Sorry, Carla. I couldn't see the name. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone have any closing remarks, questions, or anything like that? No? Well, thank you, Marie. And
Hi, Heather, it's Catherine.
Catherine!
Hi, Heather, it's Catherine. Hi, Marie. I've changed about 5 phones, but now I'm on the computer, so I hope you can hear me okay now. I just wanted to say, I'll pick it up probably with Marie when I see her, but I was just trying to understand. It's so good hearing everyone else's experiences with dealing with their little ones with special needs siblings, because us not dissimilarly, we've got one who's older, so our little boy with special needs is Joshy, who's almost 5, and we've got one older that's almost 7 and one younger that's almost 3. And just touching on what Nadia said, we've found that being honest from the start has really worked so well for us now that Lockie's getting older. And not unlike Nadia, we do run into situations. Josh had open heart surgery where Lockie came home the other day and said one of his friends believed that a knife cut Josh's heart open. So we do have situations like that where they take it a bit far. But I just wanted to say that thank you so much for sharing all your stories, because I've got so much from it. But from our experience, honesty and keeping it in check has probably been the best advice we've gotten along the way.
Thanks for sharing, Catherine. That's great.
That's all right.
Any more closing comments, remarks?
I wondered whether siblings with another sibling who's neurotypical find it easier or more difficult. Like, if there's 3 kids or 2 versus 2.
Lucy, do you want to comment on this?
To have someone else in the family.
Well, for me,
We've got. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You go.
No, you finish. You're right. You're fine. Go.
Okay.
Okay, I can go up.
It's hard when you're Catherine.
For me, it was me and my 2 younger brothers. So the middle brother being the one with the disability. My youngest brother, though, it was quite a lot younger than me and my other brother. So there was me and James, James being 1.5 years younger than me. And then Oliver, he's only just started year 7, so he's 13 and I'm 19, so that's like 6 years difference. So I couldn't really relate to Oliver growing up. But I guess now it has, like now he's a bit older and understands everything. He doesn't talk about it at all compared to me. So I'll happily like talk about my brother and, you know, like discuss and talk about how I'm feeling, whereas my brother's just completely shut off, doesn't want to talk about it. He didn't, I don't think he ever went to like the siblings groups or anything.
He did for a year, but he was only, he was very
Oh
young.
no, that's right, yeah. So he didn't really have that as much as me growing up. So I guess that helped me open up a lot about it as well. So
I mean, not that there's anything I can do about it now, but I've just lately been thinking, oh, gee, I wish there was another sibling. Somebody actually who was quite a, how do you put it, would say what they think person when he was quite young, said to me, you better have another kid so that Bridget's got someone else in the family, it's not all up to her. And I was like, you know, and now I'm like, maybe she was right. I mean,
Thank you. Definitely got value out of the SIBS group.
the SIBS group, yes, definitely. So much.
I think the SIBS group, like something like that, where they're the same age, probably would be beneficial than having children who are at different developmental levels.
okay.
Don't feel guilty about that. Honestly, no.
And I'm sure everyone, we've all got SIBs and we don't necessarily get along with them.
Yeah, that's true.
And share lots of stuff. So I think having people who are beneficial.
All right, a big thank you to Marie.